Welcome to Around the 412. We are part of AllSteelers.com and proudly presented by Crowworthy, where winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. You can follow Crowworthy at Crowworthy on Twitter, and you can visit us at Crowworthy.com. You can also check out the Crowworthy Pittsburgh City page for podcasts just like this one, blogs by ya boys, and more. I'm Tyler, and with me as always is Smitty.
That song from like that 30-second video clip that we play right before we start, that's going to be in my head for the rest of the night, I think.
It is pretty
catchy. Plays in my head now.
It's just like a little like beat.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a cool way to come into this though. So
it's a lot better than our first show. How we came into it.
It's a lot better than just hearing me, if you're watching on like the YouTube or something, hearing me just count down 3, 2, 1.
That's true. We did that for a long time.
So also the overlay. We got to talk about the overlay here for a second. We made some changes, but anyway, like before we didn't even have an overlay. We just had zoom in the bottom.
Yeah, I think it's a lot cleaner look for sure. You don't have just a black screen with us two to look at.
I mean, where's the recognition? Where's the appreciation from the viewers and stuff? Nobody's talking about it. What's going on? What are we doing this way? Also, Turners, we need to talk about something. I've made a promise that I will only drink Turner's tea on here if you sponsor the show. Even if you don't, I'm going to. But you should sponsor it because I'm willing to do that.
I only drink water, so I can't make that promise. But like if you have like merch, I will wear a Turner shirt.
Every episode?
Sure. If they want to sponsor us, sure.
That's the trick. That's the trick, because we're talking every episode here.
Yeah, if they want to sponsor us, then sure. Why not?
All right. Anyway, I want to start out by once again giving a shout out to our guys at Crowworthy. If you saw our tweet last night, we finalized an extension with them, so we're sticking with Crowworthy for a while. Our initial deal kind of quietly had expired, but we knew that we were going to re-up with them. Everything's just been so great since signing with them, and we're happy to continue that. So we just look forward to continuing to grow with them and doing a lot of cool things over the duration of this contract. Probably sign another one after that and just keep it rolling. So anyways, big shout out to Ryan and PK at Crowworthy and the whole team for making it happen, because they've just been great ever since we signed with them, obviously, or we wouldn't be re-signing. So big shout out to those guys. Yeah,
it's been awesome. I mean, even starting it right off the bat with the new logo, everything, the rebrand, it's been great. Yeah, the what is that? A pizza tray?
It's legitimately a pizza tray that somebody.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, that's honestly pretty dope. I never knew that was a pizza tray until you told me a couple weeks ago. I thought it was like just a.
I painted it myself.
No, you didn't.
No,
you don't have that much talent in your body.
No, I don't. But there are some very talented people in Monaca. That's all I'm saying. We did a lot of crap, but there are some very talented people in Monaca. Juju's bike official is in here. Just said Kings. We appreciate that, especially coming from a king like yourself. The edits are fire. All right, let's jump into this. As you can see at the ticker, we obviously got some news going on there, and let's touch on one of the things right now. Jason Zucker goes down last night, and what would have, if that doesn't happen, I think it's one of the best games that we've seen the team play. We could talk about Chris Letang returning to form, it looks like, over the last few games. Tristan Jarry looking like a stud over the last 4 or 5 games. Just everything starting to come together, and then Jason Zucker gets hurt. And now you need Kasperi Kapanen, who gets the game winner last night, to kind of pick it up because he is really going to have to play a top 6 forward for, I don't know, the rest of the year now. I mean, we don't know what Jason Zucker's injury is. I don't want to speculate. I'm not like one of those Twitter doctors that are like, oh, that's it. His season's over, broken ankle or whatever. But it didn't look great.
No, and the thing that sucks about it is he's not really easily replaceable. I know that Zucker hadn't been playing up to the level that a lot of people have been hoping, including ourselves, but that doesn't mean that he is replaceable for the next guy that's in the lineup. Because honestly, they're probably going to put someone like Zach Aston Reese on the second line, or
that's who replaced it in the first crack.
Yeah. So you're going to put someone like that, which will split up your really good shutdown line, which you don't really want to do. And I think Jared McCann is the obvious candidate for whenever he's healthy to come back to slide into that role. Mm-hmm. But besides that, as of right now, if you didn't want to break up your shutdown line, you've got like Lafferty, Sevier, like these aren't guys that should be playing up on that second line, like in a top 6 position.
They're guys that look like they should be on an NHL roster for most of the year. So I will say Sam Lafferty has looked okay the last couple games.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
He's put in some good effort. He's plays fast and everything. But the guys that he's playing with, like Seaver, O'Connor, Jankowski, whoever it is, none of those guys will look good.
Here's the thing. Saturday, Drew O'Connor actually had a decent game. And I have no idea why Colton Sevier took him out of the lineup last night. Like, I have no idea why that change was made, but it was. And Colton Sevier continues to be nothing for this team, along with Mark Jankowski, who I could talk about literally all day in a negative way.
Which is crazy because after like the first 2 or 3 games, we thought they were going to be really good.
Oh, hey, we finally found the third line center that we haven't had since Nick Bonino. Mark Jankowski, the guy that scored 17 goals a couple years ago, he's back. Finally has that offense back to his game, and that has been the case since then. So
yeah, no, he's worse than Derek Brassard, so put it that way. Who
didn't want to be here. So yeah, I feel like he was bad here for a different reason. But anyway, I saw, so shout out to also one of the best Twitter names that I've ever seen. Obviously the guys at Penn's blog, we have Jeff on here sometimes. Love those guys. One of their writers, Danny, his Twitter handle, by the way, this is what I was getting at. Shirey Irving. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's gold in itself. But anyway, he's a big stats guy. He tweeted out Penguins 5-on-5 expected goals for Mark Jankowski, 33.7%, which I believe is right around the lowest all time since that stat started being kept.
Not great, Bob.
Huh?
Not great, Bob.
No, not great. Just in front of him, Jason Zucker. 39.3, second lowest on the team. So that's where Jason Zucker was at. But again, I'm not trying to downplay this loss. I think it is a huge loss. And I think all of a sudden, how aggressive do we think the Penguins are going to be in the trade market and looking for a guy for the top 6? Because I don't think, like you said, Jared McCann's the obvious guy to come in and play there. I think ideally, though, he's going to be on that third line. And I don't see McCann long-term being on the second line. I think that they're going to look to acquire somebody for the top 6. So how aggressive are they going to be?
I think that will depend on the severity of the Zucker injury. Obviously, we have no idea. He could be out a week or two. He could be out a month or two. We don't know right now. But say it is longer term, I think that they are going to be very aggressive. We had a conversation last week about them probably making a trade for a bottom 6 forward. Because this offense is just lacking in that department. If you have Zucker out long term, that's going to need to transition from not just a bottom 6, but you're going to have to be looking at a top 6 forward because the top 6 is the real heart and soul of this team that is going to drive and score goals. So if you're missing a guy like Zucker, who you're hoping that can be very offensively productive for this team, it's not going to work out. So yeah, they're going to have to definitely look at the trade market for the time being, depending on the severity of Zucker's injury.
Now, here's the thing. Even when Zucker was healthy, I saw people making the case, and I kind of got on board with it. What about switching McCann to center? Now, this is with Zucker in the lineup as well. McCann to center, you drop Kapanen down to the third line to play with McCann and potentially like Evan Rodriguez. Obviously, you keep that Bluegrass and Reese Tanev line together, and then you acquire a top 6 right winger, to play with. Like, people have been throwing Kyle Palmieri's name out there, Victor Arvidsson, or Mikhail Granlund, 2 guys in Nashville, which look like they're going to be sellers this year. And they've been scouting the Penguins heavy. They've had scouts at like the last 5 games, something like that. And the Penguins vice versa. So those 2 teams are taking good, long, hard looks at each other right now. What do you think about that idea? Okay, again, this is if Jason Zucker's injury doesn't take him out for the year, whatever he might return. What about the idea of playing Jared McCann at center? Because I feel like this debate has been going on since he's been here. Is he a center or left winger?
I think ideally they want him to be a left winger, but I think he's capable of playing center. I wouldn't have a problem with them putting him there. And if you have Kapanen and Evan Rodriguez, who I didn't think was a great fit for the top line, but if he's on the third line with a guy like Kapanen and McCann, I'd be okay with that. I'm comfortable with that.
I like that a lot more than what their fourth line looks like right now. And then the third line right now becomes the fourth line.
Exactly. So I could get on board with that. But again, that all depends on what's happening with Zucker. And we're probably not going to know for a couple days, honestly. We know how hockey injuries are. They like to keep it very quiet.
Yeah, I know that it's never a good thing when they leave the trip and come back to Pittsburgh for further evaluation. And, Cody Ceci, who spoke today, opened up by saying he's going to miss time. Sullivan then, addressed that as well, saying he was sent back to Pittsburgh for further evaluation. Josh Yohe and many others have said that is not typically a good sign. But at the same time, just like everybody else, they're not trying to speculate on what this is. We'll find out when we find out. No one wants to say, hey, this guy has a broken ankle. Hey, this guy has a high ankle sprain. How similar, though, did that look to like Brian Dumoulin or Justin Schultz's injuries?
It looked pretty similar. I saw people questioning whether it was his ankle or his knee. And like we said, we don't want to speculate, but it seems pretty obvious to me that it's lower, like it's around the ankle. And I mean, there's multiple things. He could have sprained it, fractured it. He could have torn ligaments in it. I mean, I don't want to guess, but there's multiple things that could have done just by twisting it like that. And it was a non-contact mainly injury, which can be scarier than some contact injuries. So I have no idea what really happened. It did look similar to those injuries, and I really hope that if that is the case, that he comes out of it better than those two players did, because out of that injury, those two players have not been the same. So hopefully Zucker is not the same way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it like seemed to those injuries completely altered their careers? It seems like, at least at this point, like Justin Schultz definitely hasn't been the same player. Brian Dumoulin wasn't the same player in the return to play last year and wasn't looking great this year before, getting hurt again. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're just going to wait and see. Again, I think that I'm not going to sit here and speculate on what it is. All we know is Jason Zucker is going to miss time right now. We don't know how long, and we know that the Pens typically, this is a new regime now, but typically they would be very aggressive in a situation like this. And with them already doing their work and a couple teams around the league, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pull the trigger on something here relatively soon once we do find out the status of Jason Zucker.
Now, is the likeliness of this going to happen high? No, but maybe they're aggressive in a different way and not in the trade market, but they say, hey, Sam Poulin, come play.
Oh.
Because whenever McCann comes back, you could have him either up on the second line or have him down on the third line still, and depending on what Zucker's happening with. But if you don't want to feel like looking for that third line piece or some bottom six, you could try out Sam Poulin and see what he's doing. Because, I mean, they've been winning so far with the lines that they've had, and to be fair, like the bottom line has sucked. We've said that multiple times, but they have been winning games with it. So it's not the worst thing that it could be. But if they want to try out a Sam Poulin, which we projected that he would have probably made his debut this year, and that was before we knew like how long the season was going to be, like what the games are going to be like. But maybe there's potentially a chance that they could still do that and have him try his debut this year.
I'm definitely on board with that, because you're also not giving up assets. You could have an internal answer at that position in the top six, or maybe on the third line, like you said, with like Jared McCann. So yeah, I would probably try that, honestly, before I felt like, making a move and giving up assets to acquire somebody. See if the answer is in-house, because this is a guy that you're high on anyway. Not a deep prospect pool, but he is one guy that they're high on. And, consensus around the league is pretty high on. So I would be trying that, honestly, before I were to scour the trade market. Again, it's obviously not my call. And I'm not sure that I think the likelihood of them making a trade for somebody is higher than seeing Sam Poulin.
For sure.
But I wish it weren't that way.
Yeah, and just think, what is the last time that they got off to a little rocky start, slowly started to figure it out, and then called up a bunch of young players? What happened? So
they had the perfect blend that year of infusion of youth, veteran presence, like such a strong core. It was the perfect team. But
I've said it. I said it in the Rutherford article I wrote. I've never seen a Penguins team so dominant in the playoffs in my life. And that includes like the 2009 team. Because in reality, the 2009 Stanley Cup team should not have won that Stanley Cup. Let's be real. Detroit should have went back-to-back, but they didn't. The Penguins somehow won. The Penguins in 2016 were not going to lose to anybody and wasn't even going to be close. They were close against Tampa Bay, but it really shouldn't have been. They dominated every single opponent. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, they still dominate against Tampa Bay. It's just when Ben Bishop got hurt and Vasilevsky came in, he was just on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, he almost stole that series. But, anyways, back to present day. You mentioned the fourth line being so bad. Evgeny Malkin, although he does have 4 points in the last three, he looks like he's starting to find his game as well. The reason that they're winning games right now, the defense has been so much better, getting the contributions of a guy like Mike Matheson. Cody Cece's been very good. Chris Letang finding his game. But I think we have to take a look at why we've won 5 of last 6, and it starts in net. Tristan Jarry finding his game. He's the clear-cut number one. He had to have his back put against the wall in order to have this type of performance. I mean, literally, they had to give up 50 shots to the Rangers and lose that game, it seems like, to just throw him to the fire and have him answer the bell. Because even in that game, he played pretty well. But since then, he's just been absolutely on fire. He looks like a true number one goaltender that we were expecting to see. And this is the Tristan Jarry that I think that we're going to continue to get. Like, this is the player I expected to see in net this year, and I'm happy that he's found his game.
Yeah, it took him a little while to calm down in net, but you can definitely see there's a clear difference from whenever he started the season to his past 5 or 6 games. Because, I mean, his past 5 games, he hasn't had a save percentage below 900. And you take out the 5 games ago was 903. Then you got like 929, 969, 943. Those are all things that you want to see, and it's trending in the right direction. And I'm happy that it didn't take longer than we thought it could have, because, I mean, this guy was playing terribly. There's no way around saying it better than that. He had to figure it out, and we weren't sure how long that was going to take, and it seemed like it took shorter than it could have been, which is good because the Penguins needed that.
Well, you know what, too, I think is like the best sign for him. You can really tell a goalie has their confidence back when they start playing the puck. And for Tristan Jarry, a guy that plays the puck as well as any goalie in the league, I mean, just the best example of that is look at the play in overtime last night. Great job by John Marino to kind of screen that guy out. Tristan Jarry plays the puck up to Teddy Bluger, who then feeds it across the cap and to win the game. Tristan Jarry gets his second assist on the year to tie Alexis Lafreniere in points. I don't know if people realize that. They both have 2 points on the year.
Jarry has 4, I think.
Really? Maybe it's just a set. Wait, no, that wouldn't make sense. I saw a graphic today. It said like 16 games, and are you sure it's not just goalies in general? Like not the Smiths included?
I know it is 2 points. My bad.
Okay. Well, the Smith has at least 1, so I thought maybe it would be 4 total for the goalies.
Okay, I think it might have been that.
But anyway, how ridiculous is that stat?
Yeah, Lafreniere has not been good for the Rangers.
But anyway, getting back to Tristan Jarry, when you see him playing the puck the way that he is and just look comfortable, that's when you see that this is a confident goaltender, and you feel like that's what eluded him. Like, it wasn't a matter of talent. It's just a matter of confidence. And I will say he's still playing a little bit deep in the net. I don't know if that's coaching or what, but like on that Richard Panik goal where he just got a little too deep when, I mean, Matheson was pretty soft there as well, but doesn't throw out the stick for a poke check or anything like that. Obviously, it could have been prevented. But Tristan Jarry just looks like a completely new guy these last few games. And like I said, this is a trend that I expect to continue.
Yeah, and he has shown signs of him being deep in the net. But I think there's also been instances where you've seen him come out to take on shots that normally in the beginning of the season he would have been sitting back more. I think he has been more aggressive as a goalie, which is showing his confidence. He doesn't seem like he's timid or scared of shots anymore, which is a good thing. It's a good thing when your goalie can challenge the shots, and I noticed the rebound control has been better with him. It's just been really good the past few games.
I also want to talk about, I mean, this, honestly, let me change the title real quick to the Teddy Bluger show. Like I said, he gets the primary assist on the game winner last night. I mean, he's a third line center for this team, obviously, but people kept talking about like he can't be anything more than a fourth line center. But you could argue he's playing as their second best center when you look at the season as a whole. Like I said, Malkin is coming on, but Teddy Bluger is having a breakout season all around. I mean, we already knew about the defense. Adding a little bit more offense this year, we talked about it in our Discord last night. This is a guy I think you got to protect when expansion time rolls around.
Yeah, I think he's already in that echelon of players. I don't really think it's a question anymore. He's been really good, and he's very vital to this team. I mean, especially a team that does not have really any center depth in the entire organization besides Sam Poulin. But we don't know when he's going to come back. He's on arguably your best and most consistent line.
I would say, you think Sam Poulin starts out playing center in the NHL?
I don't think he would start out playing center. I think that's ideally where they want him to play. But I would assume that he would start on the wing. But yeah, Bluger, he's shown some offensive skill. I mean, he's already at 11 points this year in 17 games. He had 22 and 69 last year. Nice. So he's showing some more offensive skill that people question whether he had or not. We know he's good defensively as a center. I mean, his Corsi this year through 17 games, his Corsi percentage is 54%. So that's really good. I mean, this is a guy that's valuable to your team, and if they do the thing where they protect 7 forwards, he has to be one of them.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, you can talk about the lack of center depth, and that probably plays a role into it as well. But just I think the way that this guy's played warrants it more than anything. I don't think it's just a matter of them not having much else in the cabinet. I think that he legitimately, with his play, has made a case to be protected. I mean, again, I'll bring up this stat again: 5-on-5 goals expected percentage. He's 5th on the team right now, although Chad Ruhwedel's in front of him, and he hasn't played all that much. So you have Crosby, obviously, Jake Gensel, Brian Rust, Teddy Bluger. So 4th among forwards, 5th overall, and one of those guys hasn't played a whole lot in Chad Ruhwedel. So Teddy Bluger, like I said, this has just been an absolute breakout season for him. And that's the one thing, going back to Zach Aston Reese jumping up with Evgeny Malkin and Brian Rust, that makes me that's why I don't like it at all. I understand that there's not many options right now to play with those guys short term, but that Zach Aston Reese, Bluger, Tanev line, I mean, the Crosby line's obviously been their best line. Him and Gensel, regardless of who else is playing with them, that's going to be their best line. But when you look at consistency, that is what that line brings, and stability to the bottom 6, which we know what that other line is like in the bottom 6. Unacceptable. That third line, which would be a phenomenal 4th line, by the way, has been fantastic since being put together.
Bluger offensively, by the way, if they were playing an 82-game schedule, he would be on pace for 53 points as your quote-unquote 4th-line center.
Yeah.
That's nuts. It's so a guy I relate him to a guy like Brandon Tanev. I think he's another one who isn't in your top 6 role, where if I'm protecting players right now, 2 of my players are Bluger and Tanev that I'm protecting because I think they're too valuable to this team.
Yeah, and those are guys that, like, I've brought up before, and it's like I'm trying to figure out how exactly to word this or say it and have it make sense. But, like, we already brought up the 09 Cup team and, like, why that team won. Max Talbot, obviously, Game 7. Like, those 2 guys fit that same type of mold. You know what I mean? Like, a guy that you would expect, like, can raise their game in the playoffs. They just seem like that type of player to me, those unsung hero types. And that's why they're so valuable to this team. And that's why you have them, and I would probably have them as well, as 2 guys that we have to protect in the expansion.
Yeah, they're really good. I hope that people appreciate more than just the star power guys. Take a look at like the bottom 6 guys that are doing a lot for this team.
The guys that they prevent goals because they don't. The other team doesn't even get in to their end of the ice. They just keep the puck on the boards behind the net, like spend their entire shift in the offensive zone. And it's, unless you are like a fan that sits there and watches every game, they can go unnoticed. But that's why we're here to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's great to see that. Like I think you could have questioned whether the Bluger, Tanev, Zach Aston Reese line would have been as good as it was last year after Zach Aston Reese having come back from injury, because they tried it with the HBK line years ago, where after the 16 year they tried to put it back together eventually. It was good, but it wasn't quite the same. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to see that this line has pretty much just picked up right where it left off and is just as dominant as it was. And you said it best. They're the most consistent line that the Penguins have. Obviously, the Sid line is the best line, but consistency and quality of play, that's the best line.
So let's talk about the defense a little bit. We claimed a defenseman, Mark Friedman, from the Flyers. Obviously was drafted when Hextall was there, so he liked him enough to bring him to Pittsburgh now when he saw the opportunity to do so. Right-handed defenseman, actually played on as a 4th-line forward in that Lake Tahoe game, his last appearance there for the Flyers. Hasn't played a whole lot this year. It was kind of unexpected to me. Like, what is this team doing going out and acquiring another defenseman when you look at the depth they have? I don't know a whole lot about this guy, but I've seen like a writer for The Athletic that writes about the Flyers really questioning them giving up on this guy for absolutely losing out on this guy for absolutely nothing, especially him going to Pittsburgh. That hurts even worse. And he feels like he can play in like not as a top pairing, but literally anywhere from like 4, 5, or 6 guy. So I don't know what we have in this guy. I'm curious as to see when and if he plays, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on him.
Not really much. I don't know a ton about him. I just looked him up and looked a little into him. He's shoots right, so he's a right side defenseman. He's only played in 4 games this year, And I mean, his Corsi numbers have nothing to look at. They're like in the 30s percentage, but granted, he only has played 4 games.
Yeah.
But the questioning thing to me is that he's a right side defenseman. And I get you always want more depth. When you're looking at the right side of the defense with Letang, Marino, Ceci, and Ruhwedel.
And
I mean,
Yannick Weber
too. Yeah. You've got a pretty stacked right side of the defense for the Penguins. So not that I'm questioning why they made the move. I mean, of course, everybody wants depth. I just don't really know how much of an impact that he's going to have on this team.
Yeah, I think too, what's like so curious, why I'm so curious about it is like, how funny is it that we're talking about like the lack of forward depth that we have and they go out and get a defenseman?
I know. Well, it's easy to claim one off waiver where you don't have to pay him a lot.
Yeah, true.
Because also, I mean, for example, the Ducks put Adam Henrique on waivers, and it would have been nice if the Penguins could have got him, but they would have to pay him like $5.3 million.
Yeah, and this is that couldn't happen. Like a 5-year extension that he signed.
Yeah, so that, I mean, as nice as that would have been to go get him, it couldn't happen financially.
I do know. It kind of flew under the radar, but Letang apparently suffered a little bit of an injury last night. Didn't play in the stretch of the game, and I didn't even notice that until today when I saw he was listed as like day-to-day or whatever like that. But like, I know that Friedman is meeting them in Washington tomorrow. Like, is Chris Letang not going to play tomorrow, or like what's going on here?
Well,
did you even notice this when Letang
I didn't notice it during the game. I noticed it after, whenever I was reading Josh Yohe's article on his 10 observations of the game. He mentioned that Letang didn't play for majority of the third period and came back for overtime.
Like, did the broadcast mention this?
Like, I don't think so. I
honestly, I'm in overtime, and I was like, did they mess this up in this? Because you said Yohe's article, and that's where I first saw it too. I was like, what is he talking about? Like,
yeah, I had no idea. But maybe Mark Friedman plays, but wouldn't you think Ruhwedel would go into the lineup before he would? Yeah, especially for how good Ruhwedel has played. So maybe it's just the depth move. That might be all it is.
Yeah. That's what I'm curious. I'm just curious to see if this guy plays at all here, what the plan is for him. But like you said, it's depth. It's a good problem to have. Let's switch it to the other side on the left-handed side, because Juuso Riikola practiced today in full with the team, regular capacity, regular jersey. POJ was put up back on the taxi squad. Now, he did play yesterday, but are we going to see Juuso Riikola come back into the lineup with POJ sitting? Because I will say POJ has looked like a different player since that hot start.
I think you could see that. I think it's not that he's been playing bad, like very bad. He just hasn't been like he was to start the season. And I don't think it is a bad idea to give a rookie defenseman kind of a break, especially when every night he pretty much the whole time he's been playing like top minutes and top pairings, all that sorts of stuff. So if his play continues to slip like this, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to give him a break. I'm not saying that he's bad and needs to be taken out of the lineup forever. He just needs a break.
No, it hasn't changed my long-term outlook on him. I just think that it's made the decision much easier now for when Brian Dumoulin returns to say your top 3 on the left side are going to be Dumoulin, Matheson, and Pettersson.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe his game doesn't translate well playing with Letang. So maybe it would be better with someone like Ceci or Marino.
Yeah, granted, Matheson and Marino have been very good, but I just wonder what would happen if they had Matheson jump up with Letang and put POJ and Marino back together and just saw what happened. Yeah,
because whenever Marino played with POJ for a couple of games, they looked really good, and they were playing top minutes for sure. So I wouldn't mind if they switch that. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. But I don't think that it's like that big of a deal if he takes a break. I know probably a lot of Penguins fans will freak out, and I was even one that said if he ever comes out of the lineup, they're out of their minds and they need fired and all that sort of stuff. I've changed my tune a little bit after seeing him play, after seeing what the past few games have been like for him. I just think it's time to give him a little break, give him a breather, let him relax a second, find his footing again, and then bring him back into the lineup. Because, I mean, whether he's out of the lineup or not, you're still going to have a question of whether you trade one of these left defensemen or not.
Yeah, I think that, that goes back to kind of the conversation that we started the show with. Like, how aggressive can they be with this Zucker injury, and do they go after a top six guy or a bottom six guy? It all depends, I guess, on what your plan is with Kasperi Kapanen. Like, do you envision him staying on that top line, or do you think he can thrive in like a third line role, and do you go out and get like a Kyle Palmieri or somebody to play on Sid's right side, have Jared McCann play center? I mean, there's so many moving pieces with this, but at the end of the day, I think what it comes down to is, with the fact that the Penguins kind of always are right there against the cap, it's just the way that they operate. They try to spend to it. I think you have to have money going out in order to bring a player in. So you're probably going to have to move somebody on that left side in order to acquire a forward. And it looks like Tyler froze on me. So I'm just going to keep talking. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. We're going to have to see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting to see how this new front office, how aggressive they're going to be or how aggressive they can be, because at the end of the day, it comes down to Mario and Burkle. And we know that in the past they've been aggressive. They've let Jim Rutherford work his magic, for better or worse. They've kind of just handed him the keys and said, do whatever you want to do. In Philadelphia, Ron Hextall didn't have that opportunity. He kind of was handcuffed, if you will. Never was allowed to pull off those big trades. And I think that that's the one difference that you'll see happen as we see Tyler exit here. I'm sure he'll be back shortly. But that's the difference, I think, from going from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, is now he's going to be afforded the opportunity to make that switch and be afforded to make that big move that he was never able to make in Philadelphia. I was just talking about Ron Hextall and how different I think that he's going to be able to run the show in Pittsburgh as opposed to Philly.
Yeah, sorry, a little technical difficulty.
Hey,
If you've been watching the show for a while, it's kind of happens.
But, no, but yeah, I was just talking about like how aggressive are you going to be with the trade markets? Obviously, you're going to wait and see what happens with Zucker. But is it going to be top six? Is it going to be bottom six that they acquire? Either way, you think that they probably have to move a defenseman in order to do so, because where they sit with the salary cap, they're always kind of right up against it. So you got to move money out to bring money in.
Dude, right now they have $161,000 of cap space.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to move somebody out, and it's the most likely position is lefty, just looking at how many players they have right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was kind of the last thing that we were going to talk about with the Pens. Then we have just a little bit to talk about with the Pirates. We brought up just while chatting the other day after we did our mock draft Monday show, the idea of we talk about like moving the lefty out, right? It's going to be Pedersen or it's going to be Matheson, who we just recently acquired, if that's going to happen. We haven't really talked about Brian Dumoulin, and we talked about him not being the same player since that injury. His name's not getting brought up at all. Like, maybe it's not realistic to think that he is a trade candidate, but like, why not? In our minds, when you look at, he has the deal that expires the soonest. So you can argue Matheson and Pedersen are more, for the future than Brian Dumoulin is. Like I said, he hasn't been the same player since then, since that ankle injury. I mean, I don't know if it's a realistic possibility, but I think it should be explored for sure if you're going to move somebody.
He's the oldest one out of the three of them. He is expiring contract the closest. What's that?
His jersey was like the first one that I got of like the new Adidas jerseys.
Oh,
the away jersey. Yeah. I said I've always been a huge Brian Dumoulin fan. Like nobody,
as have I.
First,
I was defending him like a long time ago. Whenever I said that he's the best defensive, like he's arguably the best defenseman on the team, because I was looking at it from a point of defense, and at that time, everybody would say Letang, but defensively he was the best. And
you'll win the Cup 16-17 without him.
Yeah, I love Dumoulin, but if he comes back from his injury and he does not look any different, if he continues to have a non-productive style of play, especially with Letang, because if Letang picking his play back up, I don't want Dumoulin to come back and make it worse. So It's not out of the realm of possibility to me that Dumoulin can be moved on from. Like you said, he has the shortest contract left. He has 2 more years on his deal after this one. He's the oldest one. He's 29. Matheson's 26 and Pedersen's 24. So
Pedersen's only 24. Like he just even looks so much older. Like
yeah, he's super young. But yeah, I really think that he's a real option to be moved on from. And a lot of that will depend on how he looks out of his injury. If he comes back and he looks like the old Brian Dumoulin, then I don't want to trade him. But if he looks like the Brian Dumoulin after his ankle injury and when he came back last year and the beginning of this year, I will not really question it if they make that move.
Now, when you say about it being a realistic possibility, you mean you think that the team will view it that way as well?
Probably not, honestly. My views on Pittsburgh sports are way different than the team's views, and I think that's pretty clear. So, no, actually, I don't think it's a realistic possibility from the team, but I guess for me personally, I would look into making that move.
Okay. Well, speaking of making moves, let's switch gears over to the Pirates with our friends Jared Oliva, Jeff Hartley reporting to spring training along with the rest of the team. Shout out to those guys. We hope it's a fun and successful trip down in Bradenton. They actually made a move today, acquiring Dustin Fowler from the A's, a guy that actually a lot of people had been talking about as like the Pirates should acquire. They should sniff around this. Was DFA'd by the A's, but had a pretty good minor league season all the way back in 2019. Obviously, 2020 didn't have the minor league season. He's going to compete for a starting job, apparently, in center field, along with they obviously brought in Brian Goodwin. You have Anthony Alford coming off that elbow surgery after breaking that last year. Not sure why our boy Jared Oliva isn't being talked about in this mix, but that's neither here nor there for this. I think obviously it's a low-risk move. It was for cash, so they didn't really give up anything to do this. Don't know much about this guy, but with how many people are talking about it, like pounding the table for like the Pirates should go after this guy, I mean, it seems like a good move. I mean, we'll see what happens with it. But again, they didn't give up anything to do it. So,
yeah, those are the best kind of trades.
Yeah, they're the Pirates' favorite kinds.
Oh, for sure.
Just
they don't spend. They won't spend money in free agency, but they'll spend a little bit of cash on a trade.
And in the draft, they spend money in the draft.
They do. They paid above slot value for multiple guys.
So I feel like we haven't done a show like talking about the Pirates like at all recently. But like I said, spring training just getting started. Like we know how hard it is for teams to lose 100 games. There's only like a dozen teams or so that have done it. Are the Pirates going to join that list in 2021? Wait,
hold on. Is that true that there's only like a dozen teams that have?
It's more. I'm assuming it's more than that. Actually, let me find out. But just answer that question? Do you think the Pirates lose 100?
Yeah. I think they're going to lose 100. I think they're going to. Yeah, I think they're going to lose 102. So that's
100. Okay, so you're right on. I mean, you're giving us an exact number there.
Yeah, an exact number. They're going to go. What is that? 55 and 102? No. What's the math there?
60.
Oh, it's 60 and 102. Right. Yeah, I don't see them being very good. As much as I love my boys, I'm really hoping they're for their individual success.
So it has happened 144 times in MLB history.
I know the Pirates are one of them because 2010 they went 57 and 105 or.
This is funny. The best 100 lost teams in MLB history. What does that even mean? No, but anyway, I think I agree with you. I don't see how this team doesn't lose 100, but I think it's going to be like right there. I'm not looking for them to win games this year, though. Honestly, like I just want to see them go out, compete hard. Like you still have to. I get the pros to tanking and everything like that, but like I think that there's also something there towards like building a culture, and no player is going to go out there and purposely lose. So I want to see them go out, play hard, but at the end of the day, I'm not expecting to win many games. And you want to see the guys like Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, obviously our guys like Mitch Keller take the next step. If we see like an MLB debut do you think we see O'Neill Cruz this year? Just popped in my mind.
At what position? Because
apparently right now he's sticking it short.
He's still a shortstop, but dude, he's what 6'7" or 6'5".
I think he showed up last year at 6'8".
Dude, there's no way that you're gonna have a shortstop that tall.
That's like Colin Glass now.
He's short. Literally a giraffe reaching down to get the ball. There's no way that he could do that. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no because, and maybe he doesn't need AAA, but he missed his AAA year last year. So I'm gonna say that they keep him down
before making his debut last year.
Yeah, but Jared's a stud. I can't help that. I don't think he does, especially at shortstop. I don't know. I don't know why they haven't switched him already. Like, are they really going to play him at shortstop?
I mean, I guess he's looked better recently.
You know where he'd look better? Right field.
I think that the thinking is he can learn right field so quickly. Like, and literally he has to like force their hand to not play short by playing so bad. I think.
Are we sure that he can learn right field so quickly? Because Polanco's been doing it for like 8 years and he hasn't figured out how to play right field.
Speaking of Polanco, I mean, that's another thing like to talk about too. Like, can he find his footing and at least give the Pirates something as a trade chip?
I hope so, because I mean, this is a guy I'm a huge fan of his. I have 2 of his jerseys, and I hope that he plays well because we've been constantly waiting for him to take off. And a few seasons ago, I think the 2018 season, he looked really good in the first half before he got injured. So I hope that he picks it up, and not just because I think the Pirates will keep him. I really don't think they will. But if it gives really anybody that plays good this year and will be a trade chip for this trade deadline, I'm open for that. Unless it's Jared Oliva or Jeff Hartley. Don't touch those guys.
No, absolutely not. So like the obvious like prediction could be like Brian Hayes winning National League Rookie of the Year or something like that. Do you have a hot take for the Pirates this year, like a prediction that no one sees coming?
Honestly, wow. I have to think about that because I really don't think there's that much that's hot about the team, period. But
Mitch Keller finishes top 10 in the National League in strikeouts.
Oh, wow. That is a hot take. Not that I think Mitch Keller's bad, and I don't think he will be bad, but that's saying he's going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't that mean the Pirates win? Actually, no, because you need offense to win games.
No,
and they probably
not one out of every 5 days. That's like I cut it.
I mean, he could have a 30-win season, and they'd probably still only win like 65 games.
How wild would that be? Because I mean, we hate when people bring up wins for starting pitchers, but how wild would that look if he had 30 wins and the team had like 60?
That'd be pretty nuts. I'm not gonna lie. Man, I'm trying to think of a hot take for this team. Hot take: you will see Vanessa Hutchins at a Pirate game this year.
Ooh.
She will be shown. She'll be shown on the broadcast.
We're getting fans back in the stands. This is a good thing.
Yeah, she will be shown on the broadcast because shout out to Cole Tucker. No matter what happens, I think eventually we'll be there. I mean, I said that for the Penguins, that if we're going to be there in a closed arena, I think we'll be there outside, especially at a Pirate game.
The New York teams in the NHL are bringing fans back. I think only like 10% or something like that, but hey, it's a start.
Yeah, exactly. So I think eventually that's going to happen, especially for baseball. I think baseball is an easy sport to spread people out, and you could
today Johnson & Johnson, the 1-shot, 1-dose vaccine, not necessarily approved yet, but the FDA said it's safe. So now it's waiting approval. There's to be the 3rd vaccine shot approved in the U.S. We're seeing some steps here. Just make sure that I'm in Heinz Field in September. That's what I'm looking forward to. You can't take that away from me for a second straight.
All right, we get it. You're a season ticket holder. Whatever.
Listen, my point. It wasn't that. My point is, I look forward to just a few things in this world. This podcast, which is centered around Pittsburgh sports, anyways, and Pittsburgh sports. You can't keep taking those away from me, especially the live experiences of them.
Well, I haven't been to a live experience since February 18th of last year. Actually, the last live experience that we were at
1 year
was
ago today,
Post Malone. Yeah. I meant, okay, the last live experience Pittsburgh sports related was February 18th. I went to a Penguin game with Jenny and Sarge. But back to what I was saying, no matter what happens in the games this year for the Pittsburgh Pirates, the biggest W by far is Cole Tucker being with Vanessa Hudgens. It is not even close.
A lot of people skeptical about that actually being a thing. We recently saw the pictures surface.
There's pictures of them kissing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm saying prior to that, when the relationship got leaked, people were like, there's no way it's got to just be a lookalike. Nope, it's the real deal. She's commenting on the Pirates posts. We got like a celeb super fan now for the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is big news. This is the biggest news regarding the Pittsburgh Pirates probably since McCutchen got traded.
Probably. Actually, it might have been which happened first, the Cole or McCutchen trade? It was McCutchen trade, I think. So it's probably since Cole got traded.
Well, okay, I mean, I guess that's still a big thing, but it wasn't nearly as big for Pittsburgh as McCutchen. Like that was.
Yeah, I know.
You could argue Garrett Cole wasn't that well liked by Pirate fans.
Here's a. I mean, I don't know how hot this is because it's not like a great ERA. Chad Cole will have a sub-4 ERA on the season. He'll be in the 3s. He's never had a. I guess it depends on how good he's pitching, but he will have a sub-4 ERA. He's never had a season below 4.
That's kind of surprising.
Yeah, he's been at 4.2, 4.35, 4.55, and 4.27.
Maybe that's why he hasn't been traded yet, because you feel like everything's kind of there for him to be really good, and he just hasn't put it all together yet. Maybe this is like his last year. Like this year will be for Chad Cole what last year was for Joe Musgrove.
Yeah, the first few weeks last year when he came back, he looked really good.
I think the thing with him is just duration. He can't go real deep into games. I think you're looking at like typically like a 5 or 6 inning guy, which is fine, especially for today's game with the way that people build their bullpens. But I think that's always been the one thing that's kind of limited him. He throws so hard though. I mean, even post Tommy John, he still gets it up there.
Will Adam Frazier be on the team?
No.
To start the season?
Oh, opening day?
Yeah.
The closer that we get, I feel like it's like how many teams are still looking at the trade market right now? Obviously we got this Dustin Fowler today, but that's not like, I'm thinking how many people are looking at the trade market right now for like an impact piece, such as Adam Frazier would be.
I just know he's someone that we have talked about so much as being like the next guy to be gone. And it just hasn't happened yet.
Because I would have put the trade likelihood, like going into this offseason, nearly 100%. And we've seen so many guys moved out already. Like I would have put it way above a Jameson Taillon trade.
Yeah, me too. Dude, I completely forgot that even happened. I'm not even gonna lie. Now that you may have mentioned that, I've been like looking at the Pirates roster right now. I completely forgot he's not on the team.
We haven't really talked about the Pirates much because there's been like nothing to talk about that, but we're not going to have a show just to talk about one trade. And so we had a question for when Musgrove was traded because there was a couple things that had happened. So we talked about that stuff. Then Tyron got traded. We really didn't do a show talking about the Pirates at all. So
now here's a question for you. This has been going around the Pirates Twitter sphere for the past couple days.
Okay.
Number 1 pick this year. Ooh. Are you taking Kumar Rocker or Jack Leiter?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely between those two now. That Jaden Hill at LSU was in the mix for a little bit. I saw something about him potentially not even being like a starter this year for LSU. He might actually be coming out of the bullpen. That's the thing is like I think if people were talking about it like it was a slam dunk Kumar Rocker, I don't think that that's the case. Like I think that his teammate Jack Leiter is a legit possibility. I think I'd still take Kumar Rocker, but I'd be fine with either. Like I don't think that if they take the other, I'm going to be like complain about it or think people should ever. I think Kumar Rocker is just a bigger name, so people will probably complain about it because it's been like talked about for like a year. Like this guy's going to be number 1, but both super talented and on the same team. Like Vanderbilt has to win the championship this year, right? I mean,
probably.
They're always in the mix anyway.
For how bad they suck at football in the SEC, they dominate in baseball. But I don't know which one I'd pick. I mean, probably Kumar Rocker. But it's weird because it was Kumar Rocker. That's all we heard for the past 6 months since the Pirates have had the first pick. And now everybody's talking about his teammate, Jack Leiter or Leiter. I don't know which one it is.
Better figure out.
Yeah, and I know I've seen multiple people saying they would go with him over Rocker.
Really?
Yeah.
Like people, like people that we should put some stock into?
No, like Pirates fans.
Oh.
So not really, but
there's only a few Pirates fans.
Like Stilo City.
You would take him over Kumar.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt could be on ESPN and TV a lot this year, so Pirates fans should probably be tuning into those games.
I know he throws gas. I mean, I saw those clips of him throwing like 98, 98, 99. I don't know what Rocker throws. Is he up there with the speed too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. With like this guy consistently throws that hard.
Yeah, like all of his pitches were like 98, 99. At least his fastballs.
I'm gonna have to look more into him. Like I said, Kumar Rocker's been the name, but maybe the other guy is better.
I don't know. I mean, they have a baseball season this year, so I guess they're both going to play. Yeah. So we'll see. See how both of them perform. I mean, either way, I feel like these guys are going to be 1 and 2. At least the way people are talking about it, like which one do you take? Yeah. So as soon because I saw a Texas fan saying that they like Leiter or Leader, however you say his name is, and that's assuming that the Pirates are going to take Kumar Rocker.
I don't think you can go wrong. And the Pirates have all the maybe it'd be better to be the number 2 pick this year, because then the option's made for you. You don't have an option. The choice has been made already. You just got to take the other one.
True.
The Rangers are sitting ready.
No matter which one they take, the Pirates pitching staff in like 2 to 3 years should be really good. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, it should be, but think about what we thought was going to happen with Cole, Tyon, and Glasnow.
Yeah, I understand. I get that. I'm hoping with like the new like front office and everything, and maybe the development is better with the team. But just thinking about like if you have Kumar Rocker and you got Quinn Priester. I mean, Quinn Priester, people are saying could be the number 1 pitcher in like pitching prospect in MLB.
Yeah, that was probably the best phrase or whatever you want to say that I've ever heard about a player ever. Somebody said that he had the most helium of any prospect, and apparently that means he's going to like shoot up like prospect lists.
Yeah,
and I was like, I've never heard that in my life, but that's phenomenal. And I'm going to use it.
I'm excited. The moves that the Pirates have made this past off season, going into this season, getting the number 1 pick. I think it's an exciting time to be a Pirates fan, even though the team this year is not going to be great. But just looking at the potential of the future is an exciting thing.
Yeah, there's a couple pieces on the team right now that you feel like are part of the future. But like, yeah, you're looking at 2023 or so when you can start getting really excited, I feel like.
Yeah. And again, we're cheering for individual success. That's really what we want this year. We're not looking for wins. We're looking for guys to perform well.
We're looking for exactly 69 wins. That's what we want.
I will take that gladly. Every year until we want to win.
I think that about wraps it up unless you got anything else.
Nope. It was a little different to talk a little bit of Pirates. Very refreshing.
It felt kind of weird.
Yeah, I honestly, there just hasn't been anything happening. So we haven't really warranted to. I mean, the last thing that happened was the Musgrove trade, right? So that was like over a month ago.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's the last thing that we've talked about. It was a little over a month ago. Ever since then, it's been hockey, but had some good hockey talk, a little controversial hockey talk with probably to a lot of fans with us bringing up trading Dumoulin, bringing down P.O. Joseph. So I guess let us know what you think. What would you guys do?
You can call us, as always. It's Smitty and Tyler on 105.9 The X.
Shut up.
No, but as always, we're going to close out, tell you guys about a couple of our sponsors. One of them, not yet, Turner's Tea, but please hit me up. Turner's, I will drink your tea on literally every single episode if you guys
and I'll wear a shirt.
But anyway, Keith's Barbershop, which is an old-fashioned barbershop located at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 4 on Saturday, and every Tuesday he does $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, that's Keith's Barbershop at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. And also Bench Clears, a relatively new sponsor to the Crowworthy brand at benchclears.com. Essentially, NBA style or tank top style jersey, but it's for NHL teams. They're awesome looking. The away one is probably my favorite, and they got shorts on there as well. Relatively new. And they also, I saw, have
7-inch.
7-inch? Oh, perfect.
7-inch.
Perfect. And I also saw, I don't know if they released them yet, but I saw they were having the pre-sale for the Senators like alternate style and the Dallas Stars like neon style jerseys that are coming out soon with them.
I wonder if they'll get any of the reverse retro style. Like if you get a diagonal.
I feel like that would probably be next if they're going to, because of putting these ones out now.
Listen, I'm already planning. I have a picture in my head of me wearing that away one with those 7-inch shorts. I'm going to Hawaii in December, so I'm just planning.
Like 10 months away, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm already planning a picture with this bench clear stuff, so I'm gonna look like a stud.
Hopefully, we got another cup by then.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby cemented himself as the best player of all time.
Yeah, top 3 instead of top 5, like people want to say.
People who say he's top 5 are just denying the fact that he's top 4.
Has him at 4.
Literally, anyone with a brain should have him at 4. I'm sorry. You want a hot take? Gordie Howe is not better than Sidney Crosby. He just played for a really long time.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Hockey. He's Mr. Hockey. He's number 5 all time. Yes, he's a great player. Sidney Crosby's better all time.
Hey, wait till McDavid dethrones Gordie Howe.
Yeah, wait till he might dethrone Sid. Who knows? I guess it depends on if he wins cups.
He ain't winning anything besides
in Edmonton. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, so. He can win 10 Hart trophies in a row. He's not going to win a cup in Edmonton.
Anyways, guys, as always, thanks for listening to Around the 412. This has been a presentation of Crowworthy. Winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, all that good stuff and more. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Around the 412. Follow them at Crowworthy and visit the Pittsburgh City page for podcasts like this one, blogs by your boys, and much more. Until we see you guys on Mock Draft Monday, let's go Bucs, I guess, again, and let's go Pens.
And Pucks tomorrow night.
Yeah. Until then, we'll see you.